Hello, it's Jennifer Harding Marlin, an attorney that works at the law firm J.H. Marlin Law, a law firm in the Caribbean that specializes in citizenship by investment. So today's video is going to talk about the topic of sending international wire transfers. So some of our clients are familiar with sending wire transfers and send wire transfers on a regular basis, and then we have some clients who have never sent a wire transfer in their life. So if you're someone from the United States or from Canada and you would like to send a domestic wire, which is different than an international wire. So a domestic wire means, like, for example, if you're in the United States and you're sending it to another person in another bank in the United States, it stays within the country. This is domestic wire, and it can be processed rather quickly within a few hours or 24 hours, and you can send large amount of funds, oftentimes with no issues. So sending an international wire is a bit different. You have to select that you're sending an international wire transfer. You can either go in your bank in person and request that they assist you with sending an international wire, or you can do it online by yourself by entering the information to send an international wire transfer. So to send an international wire transfer, you need the information from the receiver's bank and the receiver. So this will oftentimes mean that you have information about an intermediary bank, a final bank account number, the final beneficiary name, as well as the SWIFT code, amongst other information. And it's important to note that when sending an international wire transfer, provided that there is some sort of error on the information that you've inputted, oftentimes the receiver bank will indicate that the information is not indicated correctly, and that amendment needs to be made in order for the funds to be applied, in which case you can go back to your bank and request that the information be amended. This is only if this happens, and we've had this happen in a few occasions. As well, if you send a wire transfer before it is processed and or received by the receiver's bank, you can always recall the wire and the funds will be returned to your account, but this has to be done before it's received and processed. As well, for example, if you were to send funds, for instance, and then you weren't sure where the funds went and or the receiver indicates that they have not received them, you can always ask for your bank and request that they trace the wire, which can sometimes take a few days, and they will charge you a fee to do so. And then you can find out where the wire transfer went. Note that even if the bank, it's their own mistake on something for the wire transfer, they often charge you fees. And oftentimes we have experiences where banks tell clients the wrong thing, and they tell them that they can do something when they can't, and they charge fees for this. And so depending on what country you're from, there can be restrictions on sending funds internationally. So for example, if you're someone from China or someone from Russia, you're limited on the amount of funds that you can send outside of the country. This is also the case in some other countries in Asia and some countries in Africa. So one solution is to send funds from a bank account outside of your home country, and this is acceptable. So for when sending funds, if you're from Europe, for example, and you have a European bank and you intend to send funds from a European bank, oftentimes bankers will require an IBAN number. And it's kind of a problem because in the Caribbean, most Caribbean banks don't have an IBAN number. So even if we go and request multiple times from the bank, like, please provide us with an IBAN number, they indicate that they don't have one. And so oftentimes we have to argue with banks in Europe to be able to send funds without an IBAN number, with a SWIFT number, with the SWIFT code, and be able to apply funds with the SWIFT code. For citizenship by investment, depending on the program, there's different requirements for sending funds internationally. So for some of the citizenship by investment programs, you have to declare from what bank you will be sending funds from on one of the investment forms, and you absolutely have to use that bank when you're sending funds. Some other programs, you can send funds from any bank you have, provided it's in your personal name, or it's from a company that you have declared on the form. And so this gives more flexibility. Some of the citizenship programs, the funds cannot go through Wells Fargo Bank meaning they can't go through intermediary bank Wells Fargo or any way through Wells Fargo. This is often not an issue because major banks, particularly major banks in the US, they don't necessarily deal with Wells Fargo. So if you have a bank account at Lloyd's Bank, Chase Bank, Bank of America, Bank of New York Mellon, TD Bank, HSBC, UBS, like all most major banks, this isn't an issue. However, if you do have an account at Wells Fargo, Millennium Bank, and or Banco Popular, which I believe is in Puerto Rico and the Panama area, these banks, for some reason, they go through Wells Fargo. Recently, we've had a little bit of issues with Schwab Bank not going through, that the funds are going through Wells Fargo. So these are just some of the issues that are encountered when sending wire transfers. And to be honest, it's one of the things that I detest the most about my job is constantly dealing with banks. The frustration and the delay. Someone can send funds and it can take a few days for it to be processed. And so it's hard to start working on something without the funds, or it causes delay if we don't have the funds right away. And actually some of the citizenship programs, it can take sometimes weeks for the funds to be applied, and sometimes people get their funds returned to them to then have to resend the funds. So basically banking can be a huge nightmare, which is why I think that more and more I can see the benefit of cryptocurrency and being able to have control over your own funds and not be reliant on third parties to send and receive funds. You can receive funds almost immediately, almost for free at a very low cost, and you can start working on something right away, and you're not worried that the funds will be returned and or delayed and or some sort of issue as a result of receiving funds. So I just think, I'm hopeful that cryptocurrency can solve a lot of banking issues, particularly for international payments. And I'm following the space, and I'm excited about the space, and I'd like to see more where cryptocurrency is going to play in the future. So if you have any questions or anything that you need help with, we can help find banking solutions. We'll never leave you hanging. So you can email me at jennifer@jhmarlin.com or visit our website at jhmarlin.com. All the best. Bye for now. Bye.